Very good evening to everyone who's following biology by Teacher Patrick. Today we want to discuss topic which is topic chapter 8, which is movement or transportation of materials in plants. Transportation of materials in plants, it's a topic that deals with how materials move in higher plants. We have lower plants and higher plants. Higher plants are plants which we know that are multicellular and they need a serious way of doing and sending materials from one place to another. So when we look at how plants move materials from one place to another, maybe from the soil to the leaves of a tall tree, today we're going to look at the system which is known as the vascular system. The vascular system or vascular bundle, this is a system that was incorporated into plants, which is important in the movement of materials from the soil to the leaves of a tall tree. The first one of the components of the system refers to the Xylem Vessels, which we look at here, and the phloem vessels. The Xylem Vessels are vessels which are responsible for transporting water and mineral salts from the roots to the leaves of a plant. And also the phloem vessels, they are living vessels, first of all, made up of the vesicles, which we call the tubes, as well as the companion cells. So they are living cells, which are important in translocation of manufactured food from the source where food is manufactured to the sink where food is required. So if we take a look at the Xylem vessels and phloem vessels location, we can see it right from here. We remember we have two types of plants which we are divided. We have two divisions of plants or classes. We have the monocotyledonous plants, that is class Monocotyledone, and dicotyledonous plants, which is class Dicotyledone. Monocotyledonous plants are plants which have a cotyledon, and then dicots. They have two cotyledons. Monocotyledonous, one cotyledon. Sorry, dicotyledonous, two cotyledons. Monocotyledonous plants, if you check into their internal structures, you realize that the arrangement of the vascular tissue or the vascular bundle is different from that of dicotyledonous. Let's take a look at the leaf first of all and see the location of the vascular bundle. When you look closely to this internal structure of the leaf, we have the upper part, which is the cuticle, then the epidermis, the epidermal cells, then we have this part where we have the Palisade mesophyll layer. Mesophyll means the middle part of a cell or middle part of a leaf. So this is the Palisade mesophyll layer. Here you have cells regularly organized, and then they are regularly organized. They have a lot of chlorophyll, and they also have the ability to carry out photosynthesis. So it becomes a major site for photosynthesis because they can produce chlorophyll that traps sunlight. And then below them, we come to another layer of cells which are irregularly organized, and these cells are known as the spongy mesophyll layer. Or spongy mesophyll cells are cells which are responsible for gaseous exchange as well as transportation of water and mineral salts. So in between the spongy mesophyll layer is a group of cells which are differentiated between blue and yellow. So blue stands for the xylem vessels, and then the yellow stands for phloem vessels. The same, if you look at the roots, you'll see that for monocotyledonous here, we can see difference of what we call the stem and the roots. They all differ or they are presented differently. So if you look at this, this is the internal or cross section of a dicotyledonous stem, where we have the xylem vessels and phloem vessels or the vascular bundles organized in a concentric form, in a ring form. So the moment you open up the inner internal structure of these plants, whether a root or a stem, and you find that the organization is regular and is in a ring form, you should well be informed that this is an internal structure of either a stem or a root coming from a dicotyledonous plant. So this is the arrangement of the dicotyledonous plant stem. So we have the xylem always inside and the phloem outside. So is to the root. So the root, the xylem forms a T shape, and then the phloems come on sides. As we follow, yellow stands for phloems, and then the orange stands for the xylem. Blue stands for xylem. So if we have now a better looking at this picture, you'll realize that basing on this, we have how is this water absorbed from the soil to the leaf? To the roots. So water from the soil is absorbed by the root hairs. Root hairs are substructures which are found on the root. They are outgrowth of the epidermal cells. They grow between soil particles and absorb water and mineral salts. Water is absorbed by osmosis, and then mineral salts absorbed by active transport. But the two substances are absorbed and then mix up and then they move. How is this done? If you look at the root hair, the root hair cell has the subcell which has a concentration of water and mineral salts in it which are extra. And these ones happen to absorb water by osmosis into them. They absorb water by osmosis into them. So this water is coming in by osmosis. Why? The internal structure of the soil sap has a high osmotic potential as compared to the soil, to the water around it. So water will be forced to enter into this cell, and then from this cell, the nearby cells, which you call the cortex cells, from the cortex cells into now the xylem, where it will move. So a lot of forces are involved when water is moving from the soil into the leaves of a tall tree. These forces move from osmosis, then across the root hair cells, it's successive osmosis. Then when water enters into the capillary, then it moves up by a process known as capillary root pressure. Then root pressure forces water into the xylem. Then as it pours into the xylem, because the xylems are very small, we shall have a process known as capillarity, the upward or behavior of liquids in our tubes. But capillarity alone is not important. It's not enough for water to move from this soil to the leaves of a tall tree. It will need another force, which force is now called tension, which is created by cohesive and adhesive forces. Cohesive forces are forces of attraction between molecules of the same kind. For example, water molecule from plus another water molecule. Then adhesive forces are forces of attraction between water molecules and the Xylem vessels. So when the two forces come together, create tension, which tension now forces water to move up. And that alone is not enough for water to move up to the leaves of a canopy. We shall need another force, which force is now known as the transpiration pool or transpiration stream, whereby as water is lost around the leaves here, there creates a sucking force. This sucking force will pull water from the neighboring cells, to the neighboring cells, and that creates a stream, which is known as transpiration stream, that enables water to move from soil to the leaves of a tall tree. So that way, with the help of transpiration stream, tension created by cohesive and adhesive forces, then we talk about capillarity, root pressure, successive osmosis, and osmosis. This is how water is able to move from the soils up the leaves of a tall tree. From the soils up the leaves of a tall tree. So then we move to roots. So how are root hairs adapted to doing their functions? One, we should have the following answers to this. So a root hair or root hairs are many. First of all, being many means that they increase on the surface area for absorption of water. Number two, root hairs have a thin membrane for easy diffusion of water. Number three, root hairs have a high osmotic potential as compared to the soil water. Number four, root hairs they are slender, meaning that they have the ability to move in and change directions as they are within the soil. Then number 5, root hairs, they lack cuticle, therefore materials can easily move in and out of this cell and cross without any fear or favor. So that's how root hairs are adapted to doing the function they do. That's how root hairs are adapted to doing the functions they do. So basing on that, then we can see how transpiration is important in the process of water absorption. So when we look at transpiration, transpiration is the loss of water molecules from the in form of water vapor to the atmosphere. The loss of water in form of vapor to the atmosphere from plants. So transpiration basically is promoted by certain factors. One of them, we say transpiration is a necessary evil. It has advantages and disadvantages. But before, how many types of transpiration do we have? There are basically 3 types of transpiration. One which takes place via the cuticle, and it's called Juticular Transpiration. This is the smallest type of transpiration that is known. The second one is known as stomatotranspiration. Stomatotranspiration is a type of transpiration where plants lose water in form of vapor to the atmosphere through the stomata. So the stomata, we know that they are the basic, they are the most important parts in water loss because they are exposed and they are used for gas exchange. Then we have the third one, which is the intermediate, known as judicial transpiration, where plants lose water in form of vapor via the cuticle. And then the last one is lenticellular via the lens cells. This one for lens cells, it's basically lens cells are openings on the plants, on the stems, where plants lose water just anyhowly. Water is lost. Therefore, after discussing this, we can now see what makes a plant transpiration rate increase, factors that affect the rate of transpiration. The factors that affect the rate of transpiration, they are basically of different types. We have the internal factors, which factors come from within the physiology, the morphology of the leaf of the plant. And among the internal factors, we have the following. One, we have number of leaves on a plant. The more the number of leaves, the higher is the surface area for water loss. And then number 2, we have what you call location of the stomata. When the stomatas are located on the upper surface for the plant which lives in desert areas, the higher rate of transpiration is ensured. Therefore, when the stomata are located on areas where on areas where transpiration is likely to be low, then the rate will be low. For example, aquatic plants, because they are living in areas where there is a lot of water, they need to lose water. So the location of their stomata is on the upper surfaces of the leaf to ensure water loss. Therefore, that one is important for the aquatic plants and it's an adaptation. For xerophytes or plants which live on land and in desert areas, for them, water loss is as a result, or they have their adaptation is that their leaf surfaces, the stomata are located on the lower parts of the leaves, therefore water is lost. Low, it's one way to ensure low water loss. Then number 3, we talk about the surface of the leaves. The bigger or broader the leaf surface, the higher is the rate of transpiration because they will receive a lot of sunshine and that increases the surface area for water loss. Then the other one is maybe nature of the cuticle. When the cuticle is thick, then the rate of transpiration is low. When the cuticle is thin, the rate of transpiration is high. So in the second category of factors affecting the rate of transpiration, we talk about the external factors, factors which are determined by the environment where this organism or plant is growing. And with that, we have the following factors. One, we have a speed of wind. When the wind speed is high as compared to still air, the speed of wind always blows water or the humidity in the atmosphere. And as water is blown, there is space created for that is a sucking space, which is atmospheric pressure, that sucks more water from the plant into that atmosphere. Therefore, the more the speed of wind, the higher is the rate of transpiration, and the less the speed of wind, the lower is the rate of transpiration. Number two, among the external factors, we have the light intensity. Light intensity and temperature, and in many cases, we can talk about them at once. The higher is the temperature, the higher is the rate of transpiration, because this encourages water loss. It increases the kinetic energy of water, the kinetic energy of or kinetic, no, it increases the specific heat capacity or latent heat of vaporization, whereby now the water on the surfaces of the soil is turned into heat, and this heat now evaporates. Then the other one would be after the it would be maybe humidity. Humidity is the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. The higher the humidity, the higher is the rate of transpiration. I mean, the lower the humidity, the higher is the rate of transpiration. The more water in the atmosphere, the less the space for water to occupy, and therefore atmospheric pressure will reduce, so plants won't be in position to lose water. So basing on that, we have very many factors which you can check out in the next two videos. If you feel like this video has been important to you, please subscribe or leave a comment down for which video you want us to do for you. The last one would be a question which I always pose to my learners. Transpiration is the necessary evil. Discuss. This question is very good for interpretation. When I say necessary, I mean advantages. Evil is disadvantage. So state and discuss the importance of transpiration to plants. Feel free to put it down in the comments. I remain Patrick. Thank you, and please subscribe.